Good morning. Our next hand's king queen off. We're in on the button. In this hand, we have under the gun. Open raises 2.8. He's playing 25-15. His raise first in stats 23%, so 9 out of 40 from early position. He's definitely opening wider than what is typical for an under the gun person. So 22.6 looks something like this. This is probably close. Maybe not have the suited connectors, and that's if that number is reliable. Could be something a little bit more like that, 20.5. Again, it's 40 hands. He raised 9 out of 40. If it's 8 out of 40, that's a little bit less. That's about 20%. So, we've got some room to adjust ranges, but I think I'm going to go with something like this. It folds around to the mid position player. Now I had him in green, and that typically means we can attack him more of like a loose passive player. We're almost at 700 hands, and he's looking to be more of a tighter but more passive player. He can be tricky. So mid position BPIP is 18% with raise first in at 15. His 3-bet stats only 2%, 1 out of 55. His call 2-bet is 7%, 4 out of 55. So I think with villain 4, he's going to have a much narrower range. And I'm going to note that I did take a note that said he called under the guns raise first in from mid position with ace king off, and he's more on the passive side. So when we look at his range, I'm going to say he probably raises or 3-bets kings and aces, but ace king, he's probably just calling with those. He'll raise him if he's first act or if he's ISO raising, but versus another raise, I think he just calls. In terms of that 7%, I've got 8.3 right here, and we could kind of debate of how wide is he actually playing, but I think this is probably a decent range, tight range, and pretty solid range. Now it's on me, so folds to me, and what do? And I just call here. So when we look at my range, I'm going to say queens plus ace queen is my 3-bet range. The 3-bet call range looks something like this. So we can either 3-bet or we can call. So when I look at like all the hands I could possibly 3-bet, it looks something like this. And you could see that this includes the 3-bet and call range, where we could do either. And king queen's not in it. It's not to say that king queen isn't a strong hand. I mean, it is. It just loses value on spades. What I think we should do, I don't necessarily like the call here. Because we're going up against two players that probably have a decent range, including one that can be tricky. I think it might actually be better to raise here, to 3-bet, and try to either ISO raise it, get a heads up, or just to take down the pot right here. So you can see we can kind of use king queen off as a bluff. We could get this villain to kind of fold out a lot of his probably suited aces, his broadways, maybe some of his pocket pairs, his connectors. We get him to fold out a lot, and that's going to probably be like 30-40% that he folds out. His fold to 3-bet stat is 100%, 1 out of 1, and we won't really know if he's going to fold until we actually try it. This player's fold to 3-bet stats 38%, 3 out of 8. So he is also a player that I think if we 3-bet, he's going to probably dump these hands and probably like maybe king queen ace jack off. I think ace king probably calls. I think queens jacks and tens probably calls. 8s and 9s might fold. So definitely a worst case scenario would be we 3-bet, he calls, and then because we now have a caller, then this guy's going to call. But I don't really like the call. So what we'll do is we'll say we called, and we're going to go with this as our calling range. So number one mistake, I think, just calling here. We should have 3-bet. Should have attacked. Flop comes down king jack 6 with 2 diamonds. So we hit top pair. We've got second kicker. And I think this is why if we 3-bet and we hit this flop, you know, if anyone calls, they're going to check to us, and we have the option of checking or betting, and we could probably bet because I think a Jack Queen, Jack 10 would call if they come along. You know, we could bet the flop, you know, check the turn as kind of pot control, and then you know, we could decide whether we're going to bet for some value or check behind and go to showdown. But I didn't. I just called. So in the sand, villain 1-bets. His c-bet stats actually pretty high, out of position 67%. So I think he's going to be betting fairly wide here. We're going to give him flush draws, open ender. Some of the gut shots, he will be doing that. We'll go back and kind of add those in. Top pair is definitely, top pair plus is definitely c-betting. And he's making about a half pot bet. Queens is probably betting. I think a lot of people will bet the under pair, and then if called, then they just check and possibly fold to a bet or a raise here. And that's kind of like our middle pair as well. These under pairs, probably not. He's probably going to be checking and folding. So now what we have to do is kind of work out the rest of these hands, these gut shots. So I think with the gut shots, ace queen's probably firing. Not sure about ace 10 or 10-9, so we'll just leave ace queen in there. So that's 63%. Villain 4 folds, so that's good. If we look at villain 4's hand, he probably has, you know, could have an under pair. I don't think he would fold queens. I don't think he would fold like ace king, but he could possibly fold the ace queens, ace 10s, maybe the jack 10s as well. So he missed, and it's on us. What do we do? Now that we're heads up, I do think we should probably be raising this up. I think it's a possibility that he could put us on diamonds and call with you know, a jack or with queens, or at least we could raise. If he calls, then we could check behind on a favorable board, like a low card board, and then that might allow him to either bet into us on the river that we would call, or, you know, he might call our value bet on the river if we kind of do that check behind. But we would have to raise, and I think we can. If we raise and he calls with jacks, we're getting some value here. What kind of raising range are we getting? I think I'm going to go with the middle, these vulnerable middle pair plus. I think we do have to consider is we don't want to raise with hands that if he comes over the top, we might have to fold. So I think we have to be aware of possibly. Well, let's group it. We might have to be aware of that we're not going to be raising all of our kings or all of our jacks, jack type hands, because we do want draws in there. So we're going to exclude all of our flush draws, all of our open enders. I think we are including some of our backdoors. Yeah, so our flush draws would include like ace jack, queen jack, jack 10. Those cards, they can improve. We don't want to have to fold out our equity with those. So I think in terms of our raising range, it's probably something like this, where we don't have that flush draw. So we'll have some of those middle pairs in our range. Top pair, I think, somewhat in our range. And I'm trying to think, maybe if we do straight's not as good as the diamond, but possibly our straight, the diamond could allow us to pick up the pot. No, I think that this is going to be our our betting range, 21.8%, and then our flush draw is going to be there. As a draw, so let us get this other one. So pocket pair, I think we call bottom pair. I think we're starting to get real speculative down here. So we're going to give us our flush draw, our open ender, 2 card backdoor flush draws. I think we can probably use those as bluffs. It's like ace 10. Well, obviously queen 10, 10 9. I think any pair would end up raising at that point. So you can kind of see we're getting this range where we do have a pair and we have a draw. So let's see what I do. I just call. So let's go through, take those out. Now again, we're looking at this type of range that we called with, because we shouldn't have king queen off. I mean, we could, but I don't think we target it. Turns a 10 of hearts. So now villain bets again. Now he's betting half pot again. I think he bets a straight. He bets the set. Probably 2 pair. Probably the over pair. Top pair bets. I think the queen could bet here as well because he's got the open ender. Although I think probably those middle pairs, I think a lot of people end up freezing. And you can see that his c-bet's pretty high, and then c-bet stat here drops. So this is 33%, 0 out of 2. So I think at this point, his speculative hands are probably just going to be checking. So top pair plus is probably what he's looking at here. And it's on us. And based on our call now, I think we're going to be dumping some hands here. Oops, hold on. Yeah, we had that, and then the 10 of hearts. All right, so with this, we don't really have, I mean, we've got a raising range. And the question is, if we raise, are we getting many folds? And I really don't think we're getting many folds. So for that reason, I don't like the idea of raising any of our flush or straight draws, because if we raise, I think sets and straights are going to, definitely sets I think are going to raise, maybe even 2 pair, and we probably wouldn't be getting the odds to draw to these. So because we have quite a few, let's go through here with value. We've got sets and 2 pair for value. Those are about the only things we have for value. And then we've got our flush draw and open ender. 8 9 is probably less important. Yeah, the queen jack. I don't think got shots. You can see that we're heavy on our draws. I don't think we would be able to really balance everything. So because we have a bunch of weak hands and we also have some of these big hands here, I'm trying to think if the raise will make sense. I think our raise could make sense if we do it with combo draws. So a hand like ace, I guess we don't have ace queen of hearts. What happened to ace queen of hearts? Oh yeah, because we called. We don't even, that would have been a raising range. Yeah, so like our only combo draws would be like maybe queen. God, we don't have combo draws. 2 pair. Yeah, I think this is just a call no matter what. I don't think we're going to be raising at all. I think we'll wait for the river and see what happens. See if we can take it down based on our range, because right now you've got 8%, 8.3% for set and 2-pair. That would be our raise, and that's 4 combos, and then you need, you know, maybe 2 combos for our draw, and it's just going to be hard to balance. I think if we have a raising and a calling range, then our calling range is going to be 100% draws, and it'll be easy. Basically, this guy, if we have an offsuit 2, he can fire again because he knows that we've just missed all of our draws. So I think this is just going to be a calling situation, not a raise. So I did call. River's the ace. I think that probably kind of bailed us out. Villain checks here. Villain could have the straight, could have the set. I think he's probably just checking everything here. Maybe not the straight, unless he thinks we also have the straight. And that's the straight's the nuts. What do? I actually fired the pot. I think that's a bad bet. He's got 53. I should just be pushing him all in. Yeah, if he has the same hand, he has the same hand, but at least, you know, if he checks and I bet, it's going to be hard. He's going to have to think, well, am I at risk? I mean, I either have the queen or I have one of these missed draws, these missed diamonds, missed hearts. And, you know, we're hoping that he does that. So it's like with the set or 2-pair, he decides to call. So I think the raise size should have been pushing him all in. He did. He check raised at that point. I think he's got the straight at that point. He's not doing it with the sets or 2-pair. He would have just called. So he's got, you know, more than likely king queen type hand, and where he's betting top pair, and then backs in the straight just like us. And he doesn't. He had ace queen. So, you know, he actually turned that straight. So did he have ace queen? Yep, definitely. We had it in his range. We thought maybe he had king, but I think this is one of those things where if we raise on the flop, he's calling, and that means this villain's probably gonna be calling on the flop. Then, you know, if everyone checks to us, we can fire our c bet, and he might actually fold ace queen because he's only drawing to you know, basically the gut shot. He has to give me credit for aces, for kings, for queens, for ace king, possibly even king queen maybe. It just kind of depends on how much he puts us on. So I think there's definitely a benefit for 3-betting pre-flop, and then as played when I just called, I think he c-bets, we fire out, we raise, and I think that looks actually pretty strong. We might be able to pick up the fold. So here's our plan for this hand. We raise the flop. He calls. If he happens to call, he's going to check to us. We check behind because we've just picked up. We've got top pair and an open ender, and we don't want to raise and then get raised off, which I think he would probably do, check raise, and we'd fold out some of our equity. And then the river improves us. So then if he bets, we can call, or we can raise on the river, raise with the nuts. So we had his hand. We kind of figured he had a queen once he check raised. I think we made mistakes, but that's why we go through these, is to try to find these mistakes and improve our game. Hopefully you enjoyed this. If you do, look tomorrow for another one.